Hello, I'm Karen Stathoplos, and I'm going to be reading two short stories by two favorite authors, Dorothy Parker and Dave Barry. The first is Dorothy Parker, who used to, I think she was the only female member of the Algonquin table long ago. She certainly was a member, and she is very known for her acerbic wit. This story is called The Waltz. Why, thank you so much. I'd adore to. I don't want to dance with him. I don't want to dance with anybody. And even if I did, it wouldn't be him. He'd be well down among the last 10. I've seen the way he dances. It looks like something you do on St. Walpurgis night. Just think, not a quarter of an hour ago, here I was sitting, feeling sorry for the poor girl he was dancing with, and now I'm going to be the poor girl he's dancing with. Well, isn't it a small world? And a peach of a world, too, a true little corker. Its events are so fascinatingly unpredictable. Here I was, minding my own business, not doing a stitch of harm to any living soul, and then he comes into my life, all smiles and city manners, to sue me for the favor of one memorable mazurka. Why, he scarcely knows my name, let alone what it stands for. It stands for despair, bewilderment, futility, degradation, and premeditated murder. But little does he wot. I don't wot his name either. I haven't any idea what it is. Why did he have to come around me with his low requests? Why can't he let me lead my own life? I ask so little, just to be left alone in my quiet corner of the table, to do my evening brooding over all my sorrows. And he must come with his bows and scrapes and his may I have this ones. And I had to go and tell him that I'd adore to dance with him. I cannot understand why I wasn't struck right down dead. Yes, and being struck dead would look like a day in the country compared to struggling out a dance with this boy. But what could I do? Everyone else at the table had got up to dance except him and me. There I was, trapped like a trap in a trap. What can you say when a man asks you to dance with him? I most certainly will not dance with you. I'll see you in hell first. Why, thank you. I'd like to awfully, but I'm having labor pains. Oh, yes, do let's dance together. It's so nice to meet a man who isn't a scaredy cat about catching my berry. No, there was nothing for me to do but say I'd adore to. Well, we might as well get it over with. All right, Cannonball, let's run out on the field. You won the toss. You can lead. Why, I think it's more of a waltz, really, isn't it? We might just listen to the music for a second, shall we? Oh, yes, it is a waltz. Mind? Why, I'm simply thrilled. I'd love to waltz with you. I'd love to waltz with you. I'd love to waltz with you. I'd love to have my tonsils out. I'd love to be in a midnight fire at sea. Well, it's too late now. We're getting underway. Oh dear. Oh dear. Oh, this is even worse than I thought it would be. If I had any idea, real grasp of what this dance would be, I'd have held out for sitting it out. I suppose that's the one dependable law of life. Everything is always worse than you thought. Well, sitting it out, it will probably amount to the same thing in the end. We'll be sitting it out on the floor in a minute if he keeps this up. Oh, wow, I'm so glad I brought it to his attention that this is a waltz they're playing. Heaven knows what might have happened if he'd thought it was something fast. We'd have blown the sides right out of the building. Why does he always want to be somewhere that he isn't? Why can't we just stay in one place long enough to get acclimated? It's this constant rush that's the curse of American life. That's the reason that we're all so... Ow! For God's sake, don't kick, you idiot. This is only the second down. Oh, my shin, my poor shin that I've had ever since I was a little girl. Oh, no, goodness, no, it didn't hurt the least little bit. And anyways, it was my fault. Really, it was. Truly. Well, You're just being sweet to say that. It really was all my fault. I wonder what I'd better do. Kill him this instant with my naked hands, or wait and let him drop in his traces? Maybe it's best not to make a scene. I'll just lie low and watch the pace get him. He can't keep this up indefinitely. He's only flesh and blood. Die he must, and die he shall for what he did to me. I don't want to be the oversensitive type, but you can't tell me that kick wasn't premeditated. Freud says there are no accidents. I've led no cloistered life. I've known dancing partners who have spoiled my slippers and torn my dress, but when it comes to kicking, I am outraged womanhood. When you kick me in the shin, smile. Maybe he didn't do it maliciously. Maybe it's just his way of showing his high spirits. I suppose I ought to be glad that one of us is having a good time. I suppose I ought to think myself lucky if he brings me back alive. Maybe it's captious to demand of a practically strange man that he leave your shins as he found them. Yes, it's lovely, isn't it? It's simply lovely. It's the loveliest waltz, isn't it? Oh, I think it's lovely too. Why, I'm simply getting drawn into the triple threat here. He's my hero. He has the heart of a lion and the sinews of a buffalo. Look at him. Never a thought of the consequences. Never afraid of his face. Hurling himself into every scrimmage, eyes shining, cheeks ablaze. And shall it be said that I hung back? No, 1,000 times no. What's it to me if I have to spend the next couple thousand years in a plaster cast? Come on, Butch, right through them. Who wants to live forever? Oh, dear. Oh, he's all right. Oh, thank goodness. For a while I thought they'd have to carry him off the field. I couldn't bear to have anything happen to him. I love him. I love him better than anybody in the world. Look at the spirit he gets into a dreary, commonplace waltz. How effete the other dancers seem beside him. He is youth and vigor and courage. He is strength and gaiety and... Ow! Get off my instep, you hulking peasant. What do you think I am anyhow? A gangplank? Ow! No, of course it didn't hurt. Why, it didn't a bit, honestly. And it was all my fault. You see, that little step of yours, well, it's perfectly lovely, but it's just a tiny bit tricky to follow at first. Oh, did you work it up yourself? Well, you really did. Well, aren't you amazing? Oh, now I think I've got it. Oh, I think it's lovely. I was watching you do it before when you were dancing. It's awfully effective when you look at it. It's awfully effective when you look at it. I bet I'm awfully effective when you look at me. My hair is hanging down my cheeks. My skirt is swaddling about me. I can feel the cold damp of my brow. I must look like something out of The Fall of the House of Usher. This sort of thing takes a fearful toll on a woman my age. And he worked up his little step himself. He with his degenerate cunning. And it was just a tiny bit tricky at first, but now I think I've got it. Oh yes, 2 stumbles, slip, and a 20-yard dash. Yes, I've got it now. I've got several other things too, including a split chin and a bitter heart. Oh, I hate this creature I'm chained to. Oh, I've hated him from the moment I saw his leering face. And here I've been locked in his noxious embrace for the 35 years this waltz has lasted. Is that orchestra never going to stop playing? Oh, they're going to play another encore? Oh, goody. Oh, that's lovely. Tired? Oh, I should say I'm not tired. I'd like to go on like this forever. I should say I'm not tired. I'm dead, that's all I am. Dead, and in what a cause! And the music is never going to stop. And we're going on like this, double-time Charlie and I, throughout eternity. I suppose I won't care anymore after the first 100,000 years. I suppose nothing will matter then, not heat, nor pain, nor broken heart, nor cruel aching weariness. Well, it can't come too soon for me. I wonder why I didn't tell him I was tired. I wonder why I didn't suggest going back to the table. I could have said, let's just listen to the music. Yes, and if he would, that would be the first bit of attention he's given it all evening. George Jean Nathan said that the lovely rhythms of the waltz should be listened to in stillness and not be accompanied by strange gyrations of the human body. I think that's what he said. Still, if we were back at the table, I'd probably have to talk to him. Look at him. What could you say to a thing like that? Did you go to the circus this year? What's your favorite kind of ice cream? How do you spell cat? I guess I'm as well off here, as well off as if I were in a cement mixer in full action. I'm past all feeling now. The only way I can tell when he steps on me is that I hear the splintering of bones, and all the events of my life are passing before my eyes. There was the time I was in a hurricane in the West Indies. There was the time I got my head cut open in a taxi smash. There was the time the drunken lady threw a bronze ashtray at her own true love and hit me instead. Oh, what a easy, peaceful time was mine until I fell in with Swifty here. I didn't know what trouble was before I got drawn into this danse macabre. I think my mind is beginning to wander. It almost seems to me as if the orchestra were stopping. It couldn't be, of course. It could never be. And yet, in my ears, there's a silence like the sound of angel voices. Oh, they've stopped the mean things. They're not going to play anymore. Oh, darn. Oh, do you think they would? Do you really think so if you gave them $20? Oh, that would be lovely. And look, do tell them to play this same thing. I'd simply adore to go on waltzing. Alrighty, that's Dorothy. And now, Dave Barry. Dave Barry, the name of this little piece is What Is and Ain't Grammatical. I'm afraid I may laugh a bit in this. I cannot overemphasize the importance of good grammar. What a crock. I could easily overemphasize the importance of good grammar. For example, I could say, bad grammar is the leading cause of slow, painful death in North America. Or, without good grammar, the United States would have lost World War II. Those are overemphasizations. The truth is that grammar is not the most important thing in the world. The Super Bowl is the most important thing in the world. But grammar is still important. For example, suppose you're being interviewed for a job as an airplane pilot, and your prospective employer asks you if you have any experience, and you answer, well, I ain't never actually flied no actually airplanes or nothing, but I got several pilot-style hats and several friends who I like to talk about airplanes with. Now, if you answer this way, the prospective employer will immediately realize that you have ended your sentence with a preposition. What you should have said, of course, is several friends with who I like to talk about airplanes. So you will not get the job because airline pilots have to use good grammar when they get on the intercom and explain to the passengers that because of high winds, the plane is going to take off several hours late and land in Pierre, South Dakota, instead of Los Angeles. We did not always have grammar. In medieval England, people said whatever they wanted, without regard to rules, and as a result, they sounded like morons. Take the poet Geoffrey Chaucer, who couldn't even spell his first name right. He wrote a large poem called Canterbury Tales, in which people from various professions, knight, monk, miller, reaver, riveter, eeler, diver, stevedore, spinnaker, drone on and on like this. In a summer season, when softer was the sun, I killed a younger bird and I ate it on a bun. When Chaucer's poem was published, everybody read it and said, my God, we need some grammar around here. So they formed a grammar commission, which developed the parts of speech, the main ones being nouns, verbs, predicants, conjectures, particles, proverbs, adjoiners, coordinates, and rebuttals. Then the commission made up hundreds and hundreds of grammar rules, all of which were strictly enforced. When the colonists came to America, they rebelled against British grammar. They openly used words like ain't and finalize. And when they wrote the Declaration of Independence, they deliberately misspelled many words. Thanks to their courage, today, we Americans have only 2 rules of grammar. Rule 1. The word me is always incorrect. Most of us learn this rule as children from our mothers. We say things like, "Mom, can Bobby and me roll the camping trailer over Mrs. Johnson's cat?" And our mothers say, "Remember your grammar, dear. You mean, can Bobby and I roll the camping trailer over Mrs. Johnson's cat?" Of course you can, but be home by dinner time. The only exception to this rule is in formal business writing, where instead of I, you must use the undersigned. For example, this business letter is incorrect. "Dear Hunky Dory Canned Fruit Company, a couple of days ago, my wife bought a can of your cling peaches and served them to my mother, who has a weak heart, and she damn near died when she bit into a live grub. If I ever find out where you live, I am going to whomp you on the head with an axe handle." This should be corrected as follows. If the undersigned ever finds out where you live, the undersigned is going to whomp you on the head with an axe handle. Rule 2. You are not allowed to split infinitives. An infinitive is the word to and whatever comes right behind it, such as to a T, to the best of my ability, tomato, etc. Splitting an infinitive is putting something between the two and the other words. For example, this is incorrect. "Hey man, you got any, spare change you could give to, like, me?" The correct version is, "Spare change you could, like, give to me?" The advantage of American English is that because there are so few rules, practically anybody can learn to speak it in just a few minutes. The disadvantage is that Americans generally sound like jerks, whereas the British sound really smart, especially to Americans. That's why Americans are so fond of those British dramas they're always showing on public televisions, the ones introduced by Alistair Cook. Americans love people who talk like Alistair Cook. He could introduce old episodes of Hawaii Five-0 and Americans would think they were extremely enlightening. So, the trick is to use American grammar, which is simple, but talk with a British accent, which is impressive. The technique is taught at all your really snotty private schools where kids learn to sound like Elliot Richardson. Remember Elliot? He sounded extremely British. And as a result, he got to be Attorney General, Secretary of State, Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, and Vice President at the same time. You can do it too. Practice in your home, then approach someone on the street and say, "Tally-ho, old chap, I would consider it a great honor if you would favor me with some spare change." You're bound to get quick results.